for all projects that we provide incentives to, we require them to submit to us an environmental compliance certificate. So that's the first step that they need to comply when they want incentives.
Right now, I'd like to introduce Ms. Raquel Echague from the Board of Investments of the Philippine Department of Trade and Industry. Raquel, can you hear me right now?
Yes, Devin, I can hear you. Can you hear me? I can hear you, Devin.
Awesome. Okay, great. Well, good afternoon, and it's very nice to see you today. I will turn the floor over to you. You have control of the slides, so please go ahead.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. I would like to thank SHECO for inviting the Board of Investments. This is an attached agency of the Department of Trade and Industry through this atmosphere forum. Today, I will be presenting to you the Philippine Cold Chain Industry Roadmap. The formulation of the roadmap by the Board of Investments with tech assistance from the University of Asia and Pacific has been started in the last quarter of 2019. It has undergone several public consultations and supposed to be finalized in March 2020. However, due to the COVID-19 pandemic, some activities have been pushed back to the latter part of this year, including launching, which will be before the end of December 2020. The need to come up with this industry roadmap for the cold chain industry was confirmed by the industry stakeholders, such as the Cold Chain Association of the Philippines, the meat importers and processors, and relevant government agencies, particularly the Department of Agriculture and its line bureaus. The Philippine cold chain industry is a crucial or an integral part of the food value chain development. This has been recognized by the Board of Investments. That's why they help the industry to come up and formulate with its own cold chain industry roadmap. It is a support industry to various commodities such as meat, fish, dairy products, fruits and vegetables, and most products that are derived therefrom. Also, not to mention drugs and medicines that are in demand or needs to be secured for the pandemic. The cold chain industry plays a critical role to food safety and food security, especially during this time of the pandemic. And based on our initial consultation with the industry association, at present, only about 60% of agricultural food products in the Philippines pass through the cold chain. With its close linkage to a multitude of subsectors and considering the above-mentioned gap, the Philippine cold chain industry roadmap is of significant importance in the development of the whole food agriculture industry. And today, there are about 400,000 tons of cold storage capacity in the country, or it is equivalent to about 500,000 pallets. This is based on the 2019 data, and according to the industry, it's still growing. There are more than 150 accredited cold storage warehouses or facilities. Of the total 400,000 tons of storage capacity, the general warehousing accounts for 65%. And most of these are located in Metro Manila, the nearby suburban areas of Cavite, Laguna, Batangas, Rizal, and Quezon, which are cumulatively called Calabar Zone, and Central Luzon, the island of Visayas, and of course, Mindanao. While the remaining 35% are dedicated exclusively for onion, tuna, sardines, and banana. Cold storage capacity utilization is way above the average. It is about 70 to 60% during lean months of June to September, and 100% during peak months of October to December. And Christmas holidays is a major driver of demand for cold chain. Moreover, power or electricity is the biggest cost item at 25 to 30% of the total cost. And depending on the locality, it costs around 10 pesos to 12 pesos per kilowatt. And supply reliability is a major challenge in some areas. Capacity concentration is, of course, driven by economic factors like population growth, per capita income, and trading and retail activities, among others. Cold storage facilities use freon and ammonia as refrigerant. And in the next 5 years, the industry projects a growth rate of 8 to 10%. That's based on the 10 to 15% per year over the last 5 years. In terms of technical aspect, the Philippine business models may be grouped into three categories. One is the extensive business model. The next one is less extensive business model. And the third is the limited business model. This business model, or the cold storage facilities with limited business model, are equipped with minimum requirements such as cold rooms at negative 20 degrees to negative 20 degrees centigrade, dry goods room at ambient temperature, and plug-in service container trucks waiting to be unloaded. The second model, or the cold storage facilities with less extensive business model, are equipped with all the minimum requirements being found in the third model, plus cold rooms at negative 80 to negative 27 degrees centigrade, and chilled rooms at 0 degrees to 4 degrees centigrade. And the extensive business model, or the cold storage facilities that run on extensive business model, have all the features second business model, plus blast freezers at negative 40 degrees, air-conditioned room at 22 degrees. In terms of refrigerants use, these three models here have different use for compressors. Like for the first business model, or the extensive one, uses ammonia and or the hydrochlorofluorocarbon compressors with standby power diesel power generators. The second model uses also HCFC compressors and ammonia and glycol system, while the third limited business model uses only the hydrochlorofluorocarbon compressors. And of course, in terms of the issues or concern, so those models that use the HCFC is really vulnerable to the planned phase out of the HCFC by 2040, while the business models could still planned for the phase out of the HCFC refrigerants, which will happen in the next years. So among the three, the first business model is less vulnerable to the planned phase out of the HCFC by 2040 because it can always extend their ammonia system to the cold rooms running on HCFCs. Now, in terms of government support, one of the government support to the industry, including the logistics, is through the provision of fiscal and non-fiscal incentives to encourage more investments to the sector, both local and foreign investments. Incentives is the exemption on the payment of a registered company's corporate income tax for a period of 4 to 6 years. 4 years would be for those non-pioneer enterprises, and 6 years to pioneer enterprises or those that will bring in modern technology or new technology that is not yet tried in the Philippines. The addition or the adoption of greener technologies such as energy-efficient insulation system is also highly encouraged. So with the implementation of the cold chain industry roadmap starting in 2021, because we need first to launch it this December, there will definitely be other gaps and interventions that can be made by the government and private sector that will identify and necessary to further develop the industry and be able to achieve its vision of championing food safety in the country. So I think that's the last slide for my presentation. Thank you.
Hello, Miss Raquel, can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Thank you very much for that very informative presentation. I have a few questions if you have some time. I'd like to ask specifically about your last slide here, government support. I understand that you're providing some incentives to encourage investment, especially in the cold storage sector, cold chain, food cold chain.
Yes.
Could you explain just a little bit more regarding the adoption of greener technologies? So the type of incentive you're providing, is this for, will you be specifically checking for energy efficiency and impact on the environment measured in GWP or that kind of thing?
Yes, thank you for that question, Devin. Actually, for all projects that we provide incentives to, we require them to submit to us an environmental compliance certificate that is being issued by the Department of Environment and Natural Resources. So that's the first step that they need to comply when they want incentives. Secondly, when they want a maximum incentive, for example, 6 years of tax exemption for corporate income tax, they need to bring in new technology or such technology that is not yet in the Philippines and being endorsed also by the Department of Science and Technology to be really new and beneficial to the environment. So we consult the Department of Science and Technology if indeed these technologies are really environment friendly that would bring in greener technologies. Secondly, we have now a law on energy efficiency and conservation. So we provide also incentives for those existing projects that will reduce energy consumptions or would achieve energy savings, so much energy savings based on the Department of Energy's endorsement, so that we can provide them also with 4 years of tax exemption.
Great. Understood. We have one question from the audience I'd like to just pose. One question is specifically, are there any incentives specifically for mechanical contractors that promote the use of natural refrigerants?
For contractors, these are, because we register corporations. Yeah, thank you, sorry. We register corporation, private entities. If it's all one-person corporation, we can also register them, the contractor. If it's a new project, they need to show us a feasibility study because we need to check also viability of the project. We don't want to register fly-by-night projects that the country could not benefit in the long term. So we require them to submit to us a simple project study. We have a simple application form that they can just fill up information to, and then we will evaluate based on the viability technically, financially of the project. We also could register existing projects that need to modernize, or those that will install a certain or specific equipment in their existing production line. We can also register them as modernization. They can be provided with a tax exemption equivalent to 3 years. That's the least that income tax holiday that we can provide, a 3 years income tax holiday.
Understood. Okay, great. Thank you very much.